Yes. Welcome back once again, everyone. Cannabis News with Joe Clare, September 5th, 2018. Check us out on marijuanatimes.org. Of course, the show is always presented by the Marijuana Times. Click the video tab at marijuanatimes.org. You can find this show. You can also search the Marijuana Times on YouTube, Vimeo, and Apple Podcasts as well to find the show. Today, talking about a new study being attempted when it comes to cannabis as a painkiller. Also, someone donating a lot of marijuana to a thrift store, whether intentional or unintentional. Talk about that also. Possible medical marijuana, at least a legalization attempt of medical marijuana in Mississippi is underway. Talk about all that, of course. But first, Cannabis News is brought to you by NatureSide. Nature-side.com. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Check out their organic, all-natural pesticides. Grow safe and poison-free. Don't use harmful chemicals on your grow, and make sure you are regulatory compliant in the state that you are growing in. If you're a cannabis cultivator, you can do all of these things with nature-side.com. They are a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Go check them out. Again, Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Grow safe and poison-free. Don't put harmful pesticides and chemicals on things people are going to be ingesting. That's horrible. It makes you horrible for doing it. Don't be horrible. That's what you should strive for every day. That's my advice for today. Try not to be horrible. All right? There you go. Don't say I never gave you anything, because that's priceless advice. This first story from marijuanatimes.org. Julia Granowitz. Researchers at UCLA will conduct clinical studies on cannabis as a painkiller. Researchers at the new Cannabis Research Initiative, which is the first of its kind academic program dedicated to cannabis at the University of California, Los Angeles, aka UCLA, are planning to conduct studies on cannabis's effectiveness as a painkiller. Now, this research, of course, is what everybody says they want. Everybody wants more research on cannabis. Now, this particular study, they still need funding. They have some funding, but they're also going to need approval from the FDA and the DEA. Yes, it seems like a lot, doesn't it? Seems like a lot of hoops to jump through, I guess, for something that everybody claims that this is very important and we all want, but yet there's many, many roadblocks to this. It's kind of like the way lawmakers do things, politicians, bureaucrats, government in general. It's full of a bunch of people who say, "Oh, we all want this thing." In this case, research on marijuana. We want more of this, but we're also going to put many, many roadblocks in the way. Namely, again, in this case, the DEA and the FDA both have to sign off just to research whether or not cannabis is a great painkiller, which millions of people every day can attest to. But then we need the studies, but then the studies are very hard to do, and, well, you get the picture. It's a very convoluted path, but it's the way things are. Next story from New York Post, nypost.com. Someone donated 5 pounds of marijuana to a Florida thrift shop. That's right. You heard that correctly. Employees at the Pines thrift store in Sarasota, Florida, are scratching their heads after someone left nearly 5 pounds of marijuana outside the shop last week. 4 bags of vacuum-sealed marijuana turned up inside a tote bag near the clothing drop-off area outside the store. Officials with the Sarasota Police Department told Fox 13. Inside the tote was a brown paper bag which contained the pot. Cops were called after an employee opened the bag and saw what was inside. The pot weighed about 4.7 pounds, according to ABC News. So, someone leaves 4.7 pounds of marijuana at a thrift store. The obvious question is, why? Why would someone do that? They put the street value, at about $5,400. Again, ABC News does, which could be right. I mean, maybe you get more for it. It doesn't matter. The point is, thousands of dollars worth of anything, leaving it in a thrift store. Most people don't do that. Why would someone do it with marijuana? Possible reasons: a prank, very expensive prank. I don't know if someone has that kind of money to pull that kind of prank. Maybe like you see in the movie, somebody was being chased and they had to leave it at the drop box at the thrift store. The most obvious explanation, I would guess, is they mistook it for something that they were going to donate. Instead of donating, say, clothes or children's toys or whatever, they instead donated their 5 pounds of marijuana. All of these seem unlikely, and yet something has to be an explanation because it happened, apparently. So, I don't know. But I'm going to go with, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were a betting man, I would say someone didn't mean to do that. Or maybe they said, hey, so-and-so, my cousin, I got this bag, this tote bag in my room. I need it donated. Could you do that for me? And the person was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then, they grabbed the wrong one. They grabbed the weed tote bag instead of the donation tote bag. Again, all of these, as I say them, they seem very unlikely, but something had to have happened. Because people just don't do that. They don't donate $5,000 worth of anything to a thrift store. And again, for, a pound of marijuana on the black market, that's kind of a low ball. I mean, it doesn't say anything about what the quality of it was or anything. You probably should get more for a pound of marijuana than $1,000 a pound, I would imagine. But again, I'm not running the market. I don't know anything about the quality of this marijuana. I just know somebody didn't say to themselves, hey, you know what? I got this 5 pounds of marijuana. You know who would really, really benefit from this? A thrift store. That's the one thing I'm sure didn't happen. This last story from mjbizdaily.com. Mississippi group starts drive to get medical marijuana on 2020 ballot. That's right. Mississippi. It's not exactly a state that comes to mind when you think, hey, marijuana law reform. A group in Mississippi, one of the country's most conservative states, is aiming to put what looks to be a business-friendly medical marijuana initiative on the ballot in 2020. The aptly named Medical Marijuana 2020 group in Mississippi plans to start collecting signatures. Keep it simple, I always say. Plans to start collecting signatures next week, according to State Rep Joel Baumgar, a Republican who is on the group's steering committee. The constitutional amendment calls for an open market, and key elements of the Mississippi ballot initiative would include no caps on the number of licenses for dispensaries, which are referred to as medical marijuana treatment centers or processors. Individuals and businesses could apply for different combinations of licenses. This according to Baumgar. People with more than a dozen debilitating medical conditions would qualify for MMJ in the state, including chronic pain, opioid addiction, autism, PTSD, and cancer. The state would be required to put in place reasonable rules and regulations. The steering committee has 60 members, including lawmakers, doctors, law enforcement officials, and religious leaders. So, it's obviously too early to comment on the chances of medical marijuana legalization in a state like Mississippi. They have to get the signatures first. How well they'll do that, again, too early to speculate. But stories like this show that we're to the point where these discussions need to happen and start happening in earnest in states where they're least likely to happen, states like Mississippi or Indiana or Idaho, whatever, very conservative anti-marijuana state comes to mind. Conversations need to be happening there. And it's good to see that these people, and apparently they have a lot backing them, state representatives, lawmakers, doctors, law enforcement officials, religious leaders. A bunch of people are behind this, and that's a great place to start. Obviously you need other things to pass a successful ballot initiative in any state, but they seem like they have a good base in Mississippi. And so if you live in Mississippi, you want to get involved, well, contact Medical Marijuana 2020. Again, very, very simple, very straightforward. That's it. Medical Marijuana 2020. Let's do it, Mississippi. Let's get it done. Thanks, everybody, for checking out Cannabis News. We'll continue to cover these stories and more right here on the show. Make sure you check us out on YouTube and Vimeo and Apple Podcasts if you want the audio-only version of the show. Thank you to NatureSide, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. They're an awesome sponsor of the show. Go to marijuanatimes.org. Great articles, social media links. Hit the video tab to find this show. Like, share, comment. Thanks to everybody who does that, who watches the show, who's all of our regular viewers. You people are great. We're here 5 days a week doing it. Hopefully you're getting something out of it. Hopefully sharing it is helping other people find the truth about cannabis. And in the end, that's really all we can ask. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to this episode of Cannabis News. And we'll see you next time.